Hello, hello! We are back with password. I should have probably actually went into the game, shouldn't I? So you couldn't see the dates, but you know how I am. Sometimes I forget, but it is what it is. Ah. I felt as I barely slept. It felt surreal, everything that had happened so far, but the reminder of Tyson laying behind me told me that I was only here for one reason. I felt sick. I felt confused. I felt scared that things were only going to get worse before they got better. It was early enough that when I got up out of bed, Tyson didn't stir outside of a mumbling something in his sleep. But not early enough to let me forget the blood stain on the floor leading out to the side. The smell of blood had faded enough that I could barely tell it somehow. Or maybe that was me just being hopeful. Standing there reminding me of everything leading up to this point, how short our lives really were. I felt small, insignificant, more now than ever given Evan with the volt I couldn't stop. Morning. I hadn't seen him standing there, watching me from somewhere off to the side. Not that I'd known where he'd come from, but I warily raised a hand in a half-hearted wave. Couldn't sleep? Something like that. Hardly surprising. Did you want to join me outside? Sure. I wanted to check in on Sal at some point anyway. Really now? He's... I don't know what to think still, but what happened couldn't have been because of Sal, I know. Right? The Sal I knew, right? It's hard to say. I have some questions for him myself. Something that's been bothering me for a while now. And before you ask, I'll tell him in due time. I need more data. The pair of us went out into the backyard, and I breathed in deep, through my nose. The air was crisp, clean, a little cold. Osmond stepped up next to me, looking out at the world, much like I was. It's a shame, isn't it? What is? That the world seems to keep moving like this after a tragedy. That is, doesn't wait for anyone. That you're forced to watch the world go by as you grieve, cope, and before you know it, your life is taken up by wondering what if. Why are you telling me this? When Sal went on his little massacre, the world gave none of us a moment to think. It allowed none of us to process what was happening, and even now, what has happened. I hung my head as he talked, the thought of what had happened running through my head, right down to Roswell reaching out for me right before he died. For now, we have a moment to breathe, and we need to cherish it, Dave. We must. For if we don't, we're going to be consumed by our base instincts. I would prepare for things to get worse before they get better. I grumbled as Oswin wandered off, and I followed close behind. He stopped short of the gate, looking into the pool area. Why did we stop? It seems as though I was mistaken. See for yourself. I wandered into the pool area, looking for Sal. The pool was clear, the place was quiet, and there he was, sitting quietly off to the side. Sal! Maybe it was how Oswin had put me in a downer mood that made me wonder if we were about to see Sal dead, too. I rushed over, stopping short of him, with the first genuine smile I'd worn in a couple days. Right behind me was Oswin, wandering over lazily with his hands in his pocket of his lab coat. Are you well? Cold, but I suppose so. Sal shifted uncomfortably as Oswin got close, examining him. It's a good thing that Dave brought you the blanket last night. With the storm going on, you could have ended up much worse than just having a cold. I have a cold? The start of one, at least, but it's not something I can't treat to bolster your immune system, however. You aren't going to heal him. Osmond scratches his chin, mulling it over. I will, yes, but I'm not taking chances. Remember how I said I needed more data? This is the data I was after. Me? I'm the data? Do you consent to me taking a blood sample to run some tests? Is this to get medicine? Yes. I'm no stranger to what needs to be done, what you need to do, so yes, I consent. Really? Then that makes things easier. But I have questions. Questions that I think only you can answer. Very well. Dave, do you mind giving us some privacy? If this is what I think it is about, it'd be best if Sal and I have this chat alone. Oh, it's alright, Dave. I'll be fine. I nodded slowly, looking between the two of them. Oswin rummaging around in his pocket and pulling out what looks like a hefty needle, seemingly intent on doing something here. Head inside. Benson should be around the kitchen, so you should be able to get some coffee into you. With a little more coaxing from Sal, reassuring me that things were going to be all right, I headed inside. Sure enough, Benson was in the kitchen, brewing some coffee, and I looked at the time to properly wake up as I waited for the others to arrive. Sitting at the dining table, I sighed out, coffee in hand. I was shaken, no longer tired, but my body felt like it was made of lead. Where the fuck were you? My eyes trailed to Tyson, and he looked furious, if tired like I was. He marched from the far side of the room and stopped short of me, arms folded tightly around his chest. Well? I couldn't sleep, so... And if something happened to you? It didn't. I didn't, but... When we get home, we're having a long talk about this. No sooner than he'd finished grilling me, we both turned to look at the other two that had entered the dining room. The air was tense, and I couldn't place why. Dave, you're safe. I tilted my head in confusion, wondering what he meant like that. And I see you've still got your guard dog. My what? 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 Tyson not tell you what he did yesterday? No? You shut your mouth. Looking between them, I was confused, settling to look at Tyson for an explanation. Ty, what happened? You don't need to worry about it. The hell he doesn't. Dave, he's unhinged. He camped outside your door and didn't let either of us come to see you. We were scared, but he had a knife and... Tyson tensed. I could see it in his shoulders the moment Orlando trailed off. Good morning, everyone. What's this about a knife? That nasty piece of work was camping out of Dave's door yesterday. Was he? I never noticed. Sal shifted uncomfortably on the spot, occasionally rubbing his arm. Also, why is Sal here? Why is he with you? Having spent the night outside, it appears our friend here may have been on the brink of coming down with a cold, or it would have if I hadn't treated him already. That quick? I stood quickly, surprised and impressed. I'm good at what I do. Granted, there were some complications, but the results were fascinating, to say the least. Fascinating how? It appears Sal here has a very unique immune system. Would have been very useful in my studies much earlier in life if I'd gotten the chance to study it further. We're not done with our talk, by the way. Come now, Sal. Trust me, I have not forgotten. However, this leads me to an explanation of why why what happened did in the first place. He pulled out a pocket. He pulled a form out of his pocket. He pulled from a pocket a bottle of pills, rattling it and settling it down on the table. What's that? That's Dean's sleeping medication. Yes. And while the dosage is fairly strong, it is what it says on the label. But therein lies the problem. What's the problem exactly? Dean's a bear, so I'm guessing that it's not for bears. So, words is one treatment for insomnia, although has the ghastly side effect of being fairly strong, sedative, and equally potent hypnotic. What? In normal cases, it'd be no different than being a little delirious after an intensive visit to the dentist. In Sal's case, however, take what effects this has and distort it. So that means... Sal turned to Sal quickly and hugged him, and fairly tightly from what I could see. It means that, while under the effects of this medicine, yes, Sal was not the person that killed Dean and Roswell. What moment of happiness Orlando had was stolen from him, and he almost went limp next to Sal. It means that someone told Sal to kill them both while he was under the influence. That may only be half true, sir. Sal and Orlando backed off as Benson strode into the dining room from the foyer, hands clasped together neatly behind his back. Excuse me? If you're comparing this to the suggestiveness of a textbook sleepwalker, then Dean or Roswell may have just been collateral damage. What reason would they have to kill either of them? That's what has me puzzled. Can we go back a little? What's the matter, Dave? Sal didn't kill Dean or Roswell, or at least it wasn't him. He wasn't himself when he did it. We know this because of the medication, right? Yes, and? Then, who told Sal to kill? The room went still, and looks were exchanged about the place. Well, I understand you want to identify the culprit. Increasing tensions right now will do no one any good. And you're sure of that? Pointing the blame at someone now is going to be counterproductive in getting those of us that wish to leave off the mountain. Not going to stop me. Pardon? I'm taking Dave and we're leaving through the forest. Fuck waiting around. And what are Dave's thoughts on this? He wants to leave. I didn't respond, looking at Hoss and Orlando, but they were sizing up what was happening in the room alongside gauging Sal. Tell them. Ty gripped my shoulder hard enough that it hurt, making me wince. Benson didn't seem happy about what was happening, but held his tongue. I want to leave. Far be it to stop you from leaving, then. But, sir, they are not prisoners, Benson. If they wish to leave through the forest, then they're adults and can make that decision for themselves. I heard Hoff scoff, shooting a look down at the end of the room where Tyson and I were. I want to leave, but I'm not about to up and leave Roswell and Dean here. I have no intention of leaving, and I can only hazard that Benson feels the same. In the forest. Dangerous. Truthfully, I don't know. Potentially if you can't navigate the terrain, otherwise you'd be lost. Out there without supplies. We'll manage. I'm sure you will. Benson corralled the other three down towards the end of the table, and then into the kitchen, presumably for breakfast. Ty's hand never left my shoulder, though, digging in. At first it felt protective, but quickly felt more possessive. What do you need? What? Dave, what do you need for your journey home? Supplies? A weapon? Batteries? I already got you some. Swipe them from the game console from some of the game controllers. How resourceful. If it's only batteries you need, then by all means, you should be good to go. He chuckled, and Ty's grip on me tightened. He was uneasy about Osmond's reaction, and it was starting to pass to me as well. But with a smile on his face, he wandered over towards the kitchen, much like the others before him, leaving Tyson and I alone. Tyson looked to me, and I cowered a little under his gaze. What? Nothing. Bullshit. He sighed, shaking his head. Anything else you can think of that we need? Otherwise, I want to get going now. So, now? So early? But, like, we just... And... I don't want to be dragging your ass through the woods when it's dark. Sooner we get off the mountain, then we can hitch a ride back home or call someone. Like who? A taxi? My mom? Yeah. Now come on. He pulled me along, letting me go when he was satisfied. I was going to follow without assistance up to my room. He closed the door behind us. You ready? I'm hungry, maybe. Ty wandered over to the backpack and rummaged a bag of chips, throwing it to me. There, solved. Can we get going? Ty, I'm not sure we should go, like the others, and... He turned to look at me, staring. He didn't frown, almost as if he was waiting for me to finish. You've changed. Tyson stood slowly, leaving the backpack on the ground and rolling his shoulders. After sighing, he sized me up and put a hand on my shoulder, shifting me as I was sitting on the bed. You want to stick around in case something else happens? His tone was level, almost empty. You want to take that risk? I don't feel safe, Ty. Right, which is... No, I mean from you. You're scaring me. You've changed and... And what? I'm scared that I might be in more danger with you than without. Okay, I get it. He nodded slowly. So what's really happening? Can we talk this out? Right? Can we? What's there to talk about? You're in danger. I promised your dad that I keep you safe. Nothing much really to talk about. What about what happened the last time you tried to go into the forest? Ty's hands went to my shoulders, carefully sliding up my neck to cut my cheeks. So I'd look to him. I remember. I remember because it was the shittiest thing I'd ever done to you, and I needed to make up for it. By abandoning everyone else? By keeping you alive, if it means you hate me for it. Backing away, he grabbed a bag and threw it to me, picking up one for himself. So you gonna let me keep my promise? Looking out at the forest from behind the house, I stared. I started to have second thoughts again. For better or worse, I trusted Tyson. I trusted his call on this. Ready to go? I think so. The more I stand here, the more I'm second-guessing myself. With a nod, Tyson took my hand and led me forward. For all the chaos that had happened over the past few days, the woods were quiet and peaceful. It almost didn't seem fair. Why was it that this was the place that seemed more like a vacation now than the literal mansion with all my friends? Staring at Tyson's back as he led the way, I wondered if he knew where he was going, or if he was just walking in a direction he picked. You doing all right? Yeah. These were the words we exchanged every now and again over the next hour. Most everything seemed the same, and I wondered if we were making any progress or if we were walking in circles. The one thing I didn't notice is that while everything seemed to look the same, everything was also difficult. It wasn't a walk in the park, but instead almost an obstacle course of small ledges, rocks, overgrown trees. 1 hour became 2, and 2 became 3 while we journeyed. At one point, Ty stopped for some water, and I took the time to have a snack. We were in our own little world here, isolated, but I didn't quite feel free. I realized that Tyson didn't really know where he was going, but eventually we stopped at a river for another break while Tyson checked his phone for something. Damn, still no reception. Really? I was hoping I could pull up a map or something, anything that might help point us back home. Are we lost? A little, but it's fine. I can figure it out. You sure? We could head back to the house, and, I'm sure that together we could. I trailed off when it seemed as though Tyson was choosing to ignore me, or at the very least not acknowledging what I said. Ty? What? We're going to be alright. He nodded, putting his phone away and checking on his bag. Still got a way to go, I think. If we head downstream, then, I don't know, water flows downhill, right? Yeah, if we follow the river, then eventually we'll hit something. A way to get off the mountain, at least. He wandered over and placed a hand on my shoulder, making me jump slightly. Ty, I gotta ask. Ask what? Can you hold me? Just for a bit? Just a hug. Something. I don't know, I just want to feel something that isn't so sad. Carefully, he turned me so I was facing him fully, sliding his arms around me and resting his head on my shoulder. I returned the gesture slightly, rubbing my cheeks against him as I sighed out. I love you, Ty. You too, Dave. As we stood there for a bit, I almost expected him to break away, but he didn't, opting instead to rub my back as he continued. For a while, maybe. Don't really know how this works, how any of this works. I don't either, really. But I'm glad that I've got you around. Maybe it was because Ty reminded me of Dad, or he was one of the few consistent things still in my life after he died. Don't go getting mushy on me. We still gotta get home. Can we have pizza? Sure. What about root beer? Fried chicken? You're gonna get fat. But sure. When we get home, we can order in while we wait for the cops to get the rest of the guys out there. He broke away and I looked at him in awe. You're really not abandoning them? Wasn't planning on it. Once you're safe, we can deal with the others, with the other shit. Like I said, making sure you're safe is all I care about. Well, how do I keep you safe? Just don't go running into danger, and that'll make my job easier. I can take care of myself. Okay, sure, I can do that. Grabbing our bags, we set off again, at least now with more of a direction in mind. We continued following the river downstream until the speed of the water increased. A little further, the river ended at a waterfall, the world opening up in front of us as we stood back from the cliff's edge. Well, now what? Ty looked over the edge, whistling, turning to the side as if there was a way down. This is a pain. There doesn't seem to be any way down unless we go through the woods again. Nothing as far as, like, a gentle slope for us to go down? He backed away from the ledge, looking thoughtful. See for yourself. Swapping places with him, I look over the edge to see just how high we were. The world started to spin, and my stomach felt funny the longer I peered over the edge. Part of me wondered what it'd be like to just fall over the edge. I'd probably die, but maybe I'd land in the river down below. Ty pulled me back when I lingered there for a while, and instantly the thought was falling were washed away. See, just a straight drop. I didn't realize we were this high up. That's what you get for sleeping most of the way here. So now what? We go back into the woods and find a way down. Looking back at the woods, I tried to spot the main road or anything hinting that civilization was in any given direction. And we'll need to find a way back. I can't see the main road even this high up. We'll worry about that later. Just need to focus on getting distance between us and the mansion. We set off again. Although, much like before, it seemed like we made a little progress. Another part of the mountain rose up to block out view of the cliff, and neither of us seemed keen on checking the other side of the river. The temperature started to drop, and we both froze when we heard a twig snap, quickly looking at each other, then down at our feet to see if we've been the one to cause the sound. We ducked down while we scanned for anyone nearby. Ty shook his head when I went to ask, but we continued to listen. Sure enough, we weren't waiting long. Oh, come on! We both tensed, listening closer. Look, it was the old guy's job to be patient. Why we gotta wait? There was another break before we heard the talking again. Same voice as before, so whoever they were talking to must have been there. Yeah, the butler of his, I get it. Whoever it was seemed to grumble, wandering off somewhere. Tyson and I remained still, listening as their footsteps faded in the distance. Who was he talking to? I kept my voice low, whispering to Tyson as he shrugged. Dunno. Mentioned Benson, though. Don't know any other butlers that guy could have meant. Benson's back at the house still, right? Tyson shrugged, shaking his head. Who knows? Probably. I got up slowly, looking around much like Tyson decided to do, fiddling with my hands. Should we go back? It'll be fine. We don't know who that was, or what they're up to. But what if the others are in danger? And what if you get in trouble by running into them? I'd have you. We're not going back. Besides, we're hours away by now, probably. We've been walking all day, so you're probably right. Your nose tell you which way he went. It doesn't work like that, Ty. You know that. Keep your voice low. But fine, all right. If you can't smell who that was anymore, that's fine by me. We should keep looking for a way down the mountain. Ty, wait. Who was that anyway? What did he want? Beats me. Doesn't matter now they're gone. We set off again, although our pace was slower than it was when we set off. As far as we searched, we couldn't find any easy way down, just more cliffs and nothing that seemed far enough to try. Shit. Huh? I looked at Ty, almost bumping into him with how suddenly he stopped. It's night already. Still on this fucking mountain, don't even know where we are anymore. Did you ever? He grunted, pulling his backpack off. We better set up camp for the night. You remember how, right? Like starting a fire? Yeah. Ty, we're in the middle of the forest. What happened if we set anything on fire by accident? Storm last night. Everything should be wet. Wet enough that it's fine, but if we set up near the river, it'll be fine, right? Sure, I kind of wish. I sighed out, thinking back. Dean would have known what to do, or even Roswell. Well, yeah, probably, but they're not around anymore. I know. Why don't you sit down and have something to eat? Just nibble on something, so there's stuff for later. Okay, sure. I did as he asked, as he said, and pulled out a banana from my bag. He cleared away a spot and looked around for some sticks to get a fire going. Where did you learn to do that? Hey, I know stuff. I can be smart. That's not what I meant. Like, we never went camping, did we? Nah, just sort of figured it out. Taking care of you isn't hard. The idea made me chuckle as I unpeeled my snack. How would you know? Maybe I have some complicated needs that you don't know about. Maybe... Ty looked up from his makeshift campfire with a lighter in his hand. I think I know pretty well. Been around you long enough to know that. To know what you like and what you don't like. It's not that hard. All right, prove it. Sure, ask me anything. I thought you hated quizzes. Don't be a smartass. You just can't think of anything outside of asking me what your favorite pizza order is. Hey, I think about more than pizza. Seemed pretty keen on pizza earlier. What, you gonna ask me what your favorite color of paint is next? Okay then, how about... Or your favorite competitive marble team? Which I'm still calling lame, by the way. Hey, it's like sports, but it's marbles. Who doesn't like marbles? My point is, who took care of you when you got sick? Well, you, but you didn't need to. Like, Mom's a surgeon, so... But I did anyway. Birthdays? Hell, even Christmas. At this point, I knew you better. Probably better than I knew myself. He put the fire going and then sat down next to me on the ground, sighing out. Fuck, I'm tired. I offered him a bite of my banana, but he shook his head. No, I'm good. You have it. I'm just looking forward to when we get home so I can take a shower. We've been out for a day, Ty. I would have thought your priorities would be different. Otherwise, you're just sounding like Haas. Ty playfully shoved my face, ears perked up at the sound of something nearby. Another twig snapping. We both ducked down, but Ty got up to look around. Learning from last time, I kept my voice low, whispering at him. Is it the same person as before? Ty shrugged, skulking a little further off to have a better look. I got up, watching as he disappeared among the trees, checking things out. Left alone, I started to worry, hoping that Tyson hadn't gotten into any trouble. I couldn't hear anything wrong, and the smell of fire was the only thing I could pick up, given how close it was. So I waited, minutes ticking by without a sign of Tyson, or whatever it was that made the sound we'd heard. Ty? Well, I hate this. No Ty here. I gasped, turning to the rabbit standing by our fire. Who? Bit formal to wear a tie out here. Got enough of that back at the den? The den? Bah, we don't need to worry about that. What about you, huh? Some poor hyena out here alone? Who are you? The rabbit's eyes dipped down, looking to Tyson's backpack before looking at me. Maybe not alone after all. Now that is something a lot more fun. Where's your little buddy then, huh? Scrambling to my feet, I reached into my backpack and pulled out the first thing I got in my hand. Not that I'd taken the time to get a weapon, but what I did have was at the very least my flashlight. As I gripped it tight in my hand, the rabbit glanced at me, seemingly disappointed in something. Here I was hoping for a little more fun than a kid with a flashlight. I stepped forward, almost lazily wobbling around the fire as he approached. But beggars can't be choosers, and I'm getting paid enough as it is. Paid? Oh yes, getting paid quite a bit, but you're not gonna need to worry about that in a sec. I backed up a little more, holding on to my flashlight with both hands as the fear started to grow. I stayed quiet, hyper-focused on what the rabbit was saying and doing, illuminating by the orange fury glowing. What? Not going to ask? Not going to give me something interesting to do? Pity. My eyes locked to the knife, and I found myself frozen on the spot. My mind immediately went to Dean and Roswell, wondering if I was about to die just like them, if I'd got to see them again. This'll be over in just a second. I've always wanted a nice rug. Don't you fucking dare. Well, that just looks silly. In a flash, Ty rushed past me and tackled the rabbit to the ground, the pair of them struggling for the knife. Dave, get out of here! Despite Tyson yelling, I was stunned, watching them tussle around violently, gnashing at one another for control. Go! There was something primal in me that clicked and I ran, each step accompanied by a terrified whine, and in the dark I had no idea where I was going. In my panic, I didn't think to use my flashlight until I was out of breath. My hands was shaking, fumbling with the switch as I stopped to catch my breath. The forest was dark, quiet, and all my senses were on edge as I continued to flee for my life. But then I heard it, a sound that chilled me to my core and made me drop my flashlight as my hands went limp. The sound of a pained yelp followed by more silence. My vision started to blur. What details I could make out in the dark only becoming harder to see. I couldn't hear anything either, but be it because the world was that still, or I'd lost my hearing as well as I couldn't tell. But my nose, I could at least smell the faint tinge of blood in the air. The scent alone was enough to keep me wondering, moving forward in the dark until I could no longer smell it. The thought of even smelling it, along with what I've heard, terrified me. No rabbit yelled that way, and I knew what Tyson sounded like from the one time I had sat on his tail by accident. We'd been walking all day, and I was tired. Everything happened back at the river a blur. Where was Tyson? Was he all right? I stepped back out of the trees, clutching my chest. Before me was an all too familiar house, and I fell to my knees in exhaustion. We hadn't gotten anywhere. I had no idea how late it was, but I was tired. Hello? My voice echoed back at me as I called out, supporting myself by leaning against the back door. Anyone, please! Slowly, Haas came into view, staring at me. You came back. He seemed to just watch me as I struggled to breath. Then, as I collapsed to the floor, looking around. Orlando's asleep. Don't know about Sal. He's somewhere, locked himself up, and I haven't seen him since. Where's Tyson? I don't know. Dave, what happened? Why are you back? Where'd you go? Haas, Tyson. I think Tyson might be... Hey, it's all right. Breathe. We'll need to tell Benson and Oswin that you're back, and when you're ready, what happened? Where are they now? Around somewhere. Oswin spent a lot of time moping around after Benson moved the bodies into the freezer. Oh, mopping. Moping? Mopping? Moping. Don't know where he went after that. I nodded, slowly sighing out. Okay, good. I closed my eyes and sighed. I was exhausted, and knowing Haas was around, I funnily felt safe enough to let my guard down. Before I blacked out entirely, I remembered him reaching out and touching my shoulder, and then I was asleep. Wake up. I came to suddenly, at least in my bed, although Oswin was looming over me, hands on my shoulders. When I didn't answer him right away, he shook me before stepping back so I could sit up. I'm awake. What happened? You're back when I assumed you were dead. Did you run into Benson out there? Benson? No, what time is it? Late, but I had to check. Wait, hold on. Benson was out in the woods? He didn't seem keen on the two of you headed out, without any sort of protection. Although he's yet to return. He scratched his chin, sighing out. Very well. If you didn't run into Benson, then I suppose something must have come up. Are you worried? Quite. But Benson's proven reliable before. He'll show up again, and from what I've heard from Haas, hopefully Tyson might make a return as well. I hope so. Forgive me for disturbing you, but, well, you understand my worries. I'll let you get your sleep. There was a noted slump in his shoulders as he left the room, but he said nothing else. For me, I lay back down to stare at the ceiling. Please be okay, Ty. Once more, I found myself drifting off, the exhaustion of the day catching up with me once more. I felt bad for Oswin, but my body was giving out on me. It was a job for the morning. I woke up in my... you know what? Yeah, that's probably a good place to end it for the day. So, oh, that was exciting, wasn't it? I guess I figured that, Jack, that was his name, right? That Jack would show up. Because every time they mentioned, we're just going to leave through the forest, I was like, man, Jack's going to be there and just going to stab everyone. It's going to be brutal. But hope that's, you know, I don't want Tyson to die. But, you know, maybe we'll find out next time. So, see you around, everyone.